I am so happy to have my next guest join us. His debut EP, First Works, is out right now. 54 Ultra.
How you doing?
Is how he goes by. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. Great to meet you.
Of course.
I really appreciate it. And for the sake of the conversation, we can mention your birth government name.
The government name.
Yeah, Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny Rodriguez.
That's right. And 54 Ultra is just such a cool name, but we'll get to that in a moment. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You're on tour right now and living the rock star life.
Trying to, adjusting to it, for sure.
What's been the biggest adjustment?
I mean, I haven't played that many shows in a row, ever, essentially, so I'm really grateful to be doing it, but I have to learn a lot with taking care of the voice and getting the right vitamins, eating right and physical activity and all that, trying to, like lifestyle stuff. I'm used to just playing a show on a weekend and then calling it, So.
What about the other side of the lifestyle in terms of what you might have seen in movies and media?
Listen, it's only like that if you want it to be like that. But for me, I can't do that. My voice gets all dried out really quickly. So I learned that lesson when I was younger, that I got to take care of it because I'm very sensitive still.
It's really interesting, isn't it? When you create music, you don't think of those aspects until you've crossed that bridge.
Yeah, that's the part that makes it work, It's fun to make a song in your room, but you got to work to push it out and put it in front of people.
Yeah.
So you have to treat it like a job, and you have to treat it like a career if you want it to stay that way, So it's all
when
about
you first started, though, were there aspirations of, man, I'm going to be on top of the world, play arenas, I'm going to be like The Weeknd?
Of course. In reality, I started music when I was 15. I started making beats just for rappers and stuff. And I was 15 years old, and I told myself that when I was 18, I'd get a Bentley. Just off of, I don't know, I had no reason to think that, but I was fully convinced. I never got it, obviously. But,
not yet.
No, not yet. But in my head, I was like, okay, I'm gonna make beats, I'm gonna be the biggest producer, and I'm gonna learn how the business works. And I didn't do that, but I translated that to when I started writing songs. So when I was 20 and I never played a show before, I'd be in my room late at night, like pretending that the floor was a stage, at 20 years old, and just like walking around saying, all right, I'm gonna command it in this way, and I'm gonna talk to people in this way. If I ever play a show, this is what I would do. So, and then it made it a lot easier when I did play a show for the first time.
The pandemic kind of enabled that too, right? Because you didn't make that shift until later.
Yeah, it definitely did. It definitely, before the pandemic, I was trying to be an audio engineer. And I just wrote a bunch of songs to try to sell off to people and to show artists that would come in to record, to try to be more involved in the process. And then during the pandemic, obviously the studio that I work at closes, and I'm stuck with all these songs and my vocals are on them, and I just sat around and I said, all right, I'll put them out and then hopefully make a good impression.
For someone that's really young and you're influenced by what your friends are listening to and growing up in New York City or New Jersey, the tri-state area where New York is right there, it's obviously very easily to get influenced by hip hop and the city type of vibe. Was your aspiration to become like a Drake or a Kanye, or what was the path for rap?
That's what the making beats was. That was the Fetty Wap blows up, out of New Jersey, and that inspires the entire state to start rapping, essentially. And if there's all these rappers, someone's got to make the beats for them. So I looked at that wave when I was in high school and said, all right, I'll just make beats. So that's where.
Was Fetty Wap was the one that started it?
Yeah, 100%. For New Jersey.
For you?
For me, yeah, 100%.
Wow. If you can do it, I can do it.
100%. I ended up kind of working with his camp really young. I just knew people that he knew. And I saw him, and then I knew this guy who knew this guy, knew this guy, knew this guy, knew this guy. So I was 15, I was DMing everybody in the world possible to give me a shot, a week after learning how to make beats, essentially, right off the bat. I was never intimidated, and I ended up kind of working with him and his friends and everything, and people that he would sign for 3 years or so. And not much came out the show for it because of how much music was made and so little came out, but it taught me a lot,
Wow.
Maturity stuff.
Where did you get that confidence at such a young age? Not many 15-year-olds have the wherewithal to be like, I want this, and I'm going to start Googling and
I don't know.
Rocket Reach and whatever websites I can find.
In reality, I read a book by a producer named Zaytoven, and something about, I hardly remember what was in it, honestly. I remember I read it every night for 3 years straight, but I don't remember now. But I think that book taught me that everything was so attainable, that the music business and creativity and manifestation is very important, and believing in yourself and in the idea is important. So it's like, if you're afraid of this, then what are you afraid, what are you gonna do? If the only thing is stopping something is me, I kind of told myself, like, I'm just gonna get over the hump and DM Cardi B 50 times and hope she and sometimes people would answer like that and you get lucky. And Fetty Wap was one of those guys that I just reached out to everybody that he knew, and I made it a way that, like, everybody's gonna know. I said, I didn't give them a choice. I was like, you guys are gonna know what I'm doing, and if I'm bad, I'm gonna get better. Because initially everybody said I was bad. So I said, all right, let me go back to the drawing board, and I went back. I said, all right, how about now? And they're like, okay, this is good, let's rap on it and shit,
Wow.
They're like that, just like that. Very much.
A lot of times people do overcomplicate things, and you also have to have that youthful ignorance.
I think that's more what it is.
At the same time.
Youthful ignorance and like not overthinking, because I didn't know what other possibility. I didn't have this fear of rejection. I just had this idea of naivety of like, all right, hey, it can't be this hard,
Yeah.
I feel like
it can't be that hard.
Exactly. But then it's incredibly hard. So I got really lucky, and it taught me a lot,
So how did that change your outlook once you did hit 19? Like you said, you released a new project with this style of music, with that experience under your belt and being a little older and affected by the world.
I mean, at that point, I was gunning for myself at that point, I was like, why should I depend on other artists to sing on what I make when I could just make it? I mean, it's quite simply that. Like, my taste changed. I went from listening to a lot of just trap music and stuff to more, older styles of music, 60s, 70s, 80s pop, 50s doo-wop stuff, and like crooners and stuff. And I started community college at that point, and I was taking music history, and that's what kind of opened my eyes to the idea of like, maybe I should learn guitar. Maybe I should learn piano more. Maybe I should learn how to sing. Because as an engineer, I was so dedicated to being an audio engineer that I wanted to be like super well-rounded. So it's like, in case a rapper doesn't show up, in case it's not a rapper but a band comes in, I want to be able to offer people services. So I studied up on just like the best music of all time and the best recorded music, and then that opened up my taste to when I started to teach myself how to write songs. That was my influence, So it's a lot of disco and like country rock stuff and like psychedelic rock stuff and then pop R&B and everything. And I ended up falling into that world, and then at the same time I was super into like modern R&B and soul stuff and alternative stuff. I really like Beach House and Wallows and like Steve Lacy, Calucci's and Blood Orange and everything. And I was super tapped into this stuff. It's 2019, it's right before the pandemic. It's peak existence at the 19 years old. It's like, so I learned a guitar and I start learning Steve Lacy songs, and I'm teaching myself how to do it. So by the time the pandemic hits, I'm in like this melting pot of like just music, I guess, and all these different scenes all at the same time. And then by the pandemic wraps up, by the fall of 2020, I'm making like I started out making R&B and singing R&B, and I ended up making bedroom pop and like indie rock songs and just trying to find my lane. I made an EP that was like indie rock that had like a really SoCal sound, like super dated sound. But then I did like a Brent Faiyaz almost EP. Then I did like a Steve Lacy type of EP. Then I did like a Mac DeMarco copy EP where I just kept making songs. I made like 50 songs in like 2 months.
Wow.
And I just kept all trying to recreate something or remake something. I ended up finding my lane by 2021, where I like put together a band of my close friends, and I said, all right guys, let's all learn instruments and all figure this out, because I want to play shows for people. And then that's like essentially my first single that's on Spotify now. It's called Should I Let This Go, which is like a bedroom poppy thing, and then the B-side is like an indie rock thing. Because my idea was, okay, nobody's doing ballads anymore, and nobody's doing really high energy stuff. So my thing was like, I want to do both. Like, the most popular artists have every style of music on their album, so I want to make sure that I'm not in one box,
Right. It's really curious how that period of time when we were all holed up during quarantine and basically in our rooms, in our houses by ourselves with our thoughts and with really limitless amount of time in many regards to creativity or just pursuing our passions or working or whatever it was that we were trying to achieve.
Yeah.
It gave artists really that room, that space of no distractions pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, you could see that now, the influence that time had on a lot of people. But for me, it's funny, like, pandemic starts, they kick us out of school in like March. I didn't touch a guitar or anything until like June or July. Like I was playing video games all day, if I'm being honest. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I just remembered, I was like, man, I know what it just hit me one day. I wake up in May. I was just like, I gotta get back on this.
Well, right, because they were like, oh, don't worry, it'll be 14 days, 20 days, you know, we just gotta flatten the curve and that'll be fine.
That's the trigger word, oh my God. I forgot about that.
Oh, God.
Flatten the curve.
Sorry, I'm triggering myself as well.
No, that makes no sense.
But the same thing was going on with every other artist, and I'm gonna do this genre, I don't care anymore. And all of a sudden, like there was also this pocket of pop punk that was revived for a period of time.
Absolutely.
Emo rap, and, right? It evolved, and all of a sudden everybody was genreless.
Yeah. I mean, obviously TikTok is an influence on that with the way that the algorithm works there, where everybody blew up for a month.
Right.
And then some people got deluded by it, and other people really found a footing, And it's crazy how that stuff works,
Totally.
So in that pocket, I just sat down and tried to draw it up. I said, well, when things start to open up, I'm gonna start figuring out what a scene is, try to figure out what the New Jersey scene is like, try to introduce myself, try to figure out the kids that I went to college with, like where they would play shows, and see if they let me do it, Then once the COVID bans are lifted in New Jersey, I ended up just throwing house parties and house shows and basement shows, and local venues started cropping up because everybody was excited to be outside again. And then I just fully introduced myself into a world that I had no idea what it was, and playing in New Jersey, New York, just every weekend trying to find a new place to introduce myself.
But also in a different scene in terms of rock music.
Yeah.
Because I've been in the rap scene for a little minute, right?
The whole community that I had no idea. In New Jersey, there's a big, everybody's trying to do like kind of like an emo rap or like a garage rock kind of thing. And like emo rock stuff and like punk, pop punk essentially is kind of like the sound over there. And I was doing like indie rock. I was trying to just do like a California kind of thing or like something, I was just trying to find my space. I really like the band Surf Curse.
They're awesome.
That was kind of like the big influence on in my head of like just energy, but with synthesizers and like, just trying to find a lane, I guess.
Was that one of the bands that you kind of discovered at some point during the pandemic?
100%, and I just found my footing.
Yeah.
Like Beach Fossils from New York too, I like that idea of just like high energy, overdriven guitar, but like super moody and mellow and like kind of depressing lyrics, but high energy music,
How do you balance your technical skills, the technical mind, kind of the left brain, right brain type of balance where you have that technical engineering vibe where you're like, okay, well, these should be layered in this fashion and this will come in here,
well, it's part
versus
of
the creative, inspirational.
It's part of songwriting, because production is creative in itself, When you're recording yourself on the computer, it's like production is just a songwriting. You're producing and mixing it as you're writing the song. It's like this type of reverb lends to a certain style. I'm not making demos. I would make full songs every night, and I'd say, okay, this drum sound is for me to make a song. And I taught myself how to play bass so I can make full songs. So to answer your question, it's all one thing. It was never too much of a separated idea. It wasn't until like I got into making like soul music and things like that, where I was really trying to like engineer and trying to teach myself how to like get a sound at the source and then take it to a studio as opposed to just being in my room. And then where I kind of separate, now there's a separation there.
Right. What about your voice? Because obviously with the music you're making now, it's very dependent on your vocals.
Oh yeah.
Smooth, emotional.
I mean, I don't know. I took voice lessons at county college for 1 semester before the pandemic, essentially, and that was all I had. I was in choir, and I just didn't really feel nice about it. I just tried to emulate how people sounded, and I think that kind of built my ear up. So once I took voice lessons and kind of connected the dots of like what I would do naturally, I just, in the pandemic again, just sitting at home singing, but it was really just like me speaking, and then I ended up remaking songs and doing a lot of covers, and from there that taught me how to sing.
Were there particular artists that you gravitated towards that you found that fit your voice, your style?
I did a lot of The Cure. I used to do like
Smith.
I used to do like a Boys Don't Cry cover a lot, and that like, I don't know why, but that like resonated, like Robert Smith resonated with like where I wanted to take it. So I did that, and then like Steve Lacy, kind of like Frank Ocean in that way, like R&B singing.
Robert Smith, I would never forget. Frank Ocean, Steve Lacy, that kind of makes sense.
I feel like I could do a really good impression, but I don't, you know. So when I do covers and stuff, I try to nail it. Like George Michael too, I do a lot of, it's honestly on SoundCloud. I'm looking, I'd record full covers, like I'd reproduce like full covers.
Yeah.
And then that taught me how to sing, to like project, to how to use my diaphragm and everything.
There's a lot of emotion in Robert Smith's voice, and that's what really resonates with a lot of people, is the pain or the passion that he has in various songs. And you know, Boys Don't Cry is a little more playful, but Pictures of You, for example, you know, it's just so emotional.
It is. It's all emotional, and it's. I love it, honestly. I like the Smiths too. You know, same reason of, you know, a lot of emotional storytelling. And I end up keeping that in my head when I'm trying to find my voice, and I'm playing these basement shows. I was like a 4-piece rock band, essentially. My whole thing was like rock with synthesizers and then like ballads with synths. But I did that for like 2-3 years, you know, and just trying to find my footing. And then it wasn't until 2023 where I just started, my taste started changing a little bit. I ended up getting more into, you know, like Brazilian jazz and like old, not oldies, but like Donnie and Joe Emerson and like, not Ariel Pink, but kind of like this band Monic, and like, it's just old, you know, like lost media kind of records that I would find on Spotify. And from there I was like, oh, this is a good lane, you know? I had a friend show me Donnie and Joe Emerson, and she was like, oh, that sounds like you. And I was like, damn, it does, you know? So then I got to Donnie and Joe Emerson, and then I said, okay, like, what else is there that's like that? You know, what's a lost media? Then I get into Light in the Attic Records, you know, and Numero Group is like another label that releases, you know, old releases, and then you get into like Daptone Records and Big Crown and everything, and then those artists are the modern ones that are influenced by that, and then just a balance of all that, and I kind of fell into that world. And I realized that what those people were making is what I've been trying to make in my head, but I didn't know that they existed already. So then I kind of used that as reference. I was like, okay, well then I could do that too.
What a discovery.
I know. That and like just growing up on salsa music and stuff, I kind of like figured out, I was like, what if I just put Latin percussion on bedroom pop and see what happens? Obviously that has been done before. I didn't know that. You know, I didn't know who Joe Baton was. Like I knew, but I didn't really know. Like Ralphie Pagan, this like 60s, 70s guys that were just making Latin soul from New York, which is just, you know, Latin ballads in English. And I didn't know it was a thing. In my head, I thought I invented it. I was fully committed to that.
Yeah.
And then that was in 2023 where I just started just studying a lot more than I ever had. And I don't know, I just landed on something, I guess.
Well, you put together 6 songs that sound fantastic.
Thank you.
Man. Horns, the passion, like I mentioned, your voice is smooth as butter.
Thank you.
Talk to Me really stood out to me. As soon as I heard it, track 1, you come out of the gates on the EP with just a banger.
That's probably the oldest song on there. I think that's from 2019 or 2020.
Really?
That's one of the first songs
So you were
I wrote.
still developing what you were trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm. I said that song, that version of that song essentially was done at like 2022, but I'm like, it's still held up, so I put it out, you know?
Yeah.
But I had, those vocals are from when I was 21, I think, 22 maybe.
Wow.
So, I'm sorry.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, your debut project is always going to be a culmination of your life.
Of course, yeah, it's just time. You know, you have all the time in the world to do that.
Yeah, and of course the album is probably even more of a bigger piece of work that
Absolutely.
can encapsulate your life.
Piece of work is a real, that's what it is. It's
Yeah.
a piece of work right now. I got to figure it out. You know?
Halo is another one that really stood out to me
Thank you.
too.
Halo, as it was written, is essentially another one of my first songs ever too. You know, that hook, that chorus I had written in 2021, like February, kind of inspired by the Smiths. And then the verse came maybe like 6 months later, 8 months later, closer to 2022. And I was trying to do like a new wave thing, like super new wave, super, just super, I was trying to make it a new wave thing. But then I kind of drew it, I walked it back, and I was kind of inspired by this guy, Jim Sullivan, who's like a country kind of rocker guy. That's why you kind of have like a more of a boppy feel as opposed to like a really pushing feel.
Right.
But when we do it live, I do it like punky.
I think that's maybe why I resonate with both of those songs, because I have an affinity for new wave and modern rock, and you just mentioned the Smiths and the Cure, two of my favorite bands. And so the way Morrissey sings is obviously so different than the way Robert Smith sings.
Oh yeah. I just tried to make something, again, the foundation of those songs is that new wave stuff, and I ended up tweaking it to be more, you know, like sweet soul, I guess. They're more like something more up-paced, but still analog. Like I did that in Queens this year. I recorded it, you know, and I had to redo it. But for a while, it was just a new wave song with drum machines and guitars and stuff, you know. So I had to find the balance of how to like
Yeah.
make it kind of how I want it to fit now, you know?
What has it been like at the shows? This is going to be my first time seeing.
Well, I'm excited to have you.
Thank you.
I mean, for me, I've been playing shows since I was 21, you know? So I'm used to coming to crowds where they don't really know who I am. Well, I'm used to empty crowds, you know, empty rooms. Rooms as big as this one that was just dead empty. And I said, oh, damn, I took the gig, I got to do it, you know? And so it's all of a culmination to where it's like I'm prepared for when people started to care. Because I didn't know when they would start to care, you know? And 2024 was really when Heaven Knows kind of took off online, and Where Are You took off online, and people started coming to shows. I did a show in New York, and people from Chicago and Texas and everything would just show up. I said, oh, okay. You know, and I think I'm just prepared, you know? I try to be prepared, and I want to perform, and I want to entertain. I'm, you know, inspired by James Brown and Michael Jackson, and you know, like Freddie Mercury in a way, and like just great performers of those times, you know, and trying to give people a show or something that might be missing from today's game, because it's easy to stand up and just play the song and leave, you know, but I like connecting with them. And I'm used to fighting for my life, playing a show where nobody knows who you are. Or when you're in New York and playing at a club, and you got to really earn that idea of people that care about you.
And now you got your Fetty Wap moment. You're going to be playing Coachella.
Yeah, that's insane.
What was that call like?
I mean, that
email, text?
Yeah, that call was great. You know, that was you know, my management obviously told me, and they were like, well, we got it. And I said, well, I knew it was going to happen.
Nice.
I wanted it to happen. You know, I feel like I made the right relationships, and I made the right decisions. And even doing this tour was like a proof. I was like, I haven't done a support run, really. I haven't done a real proper support tour. So I was like, at the time, so I figured, I was like, we got to do this headline tour to prove to people that I can do this, you know, prove to people that do these festivals that I can be a part of something.
The lineup is out already. Are there artists on the Coachella lineup that you are just totally stoked for?
I'm really excited to see Dijon. I'm really excited to see Geese. Obviously, Justin Bieber is hilarious. The Strokes. I mean, listen, honestly, this is a really good lineup. You know, there's not like a really crazy.
If you really take apart the lineup outside of the headliners, because
it's incredible. You got like Interpol, you got like the XX,
Strokes, you got the Interpol.
You throw me in there, I feel like that's cool.
Oh, of course, 54 Ultra.
And then, you know, come on, 54 is gonna kill it for sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think now. I mean, honestly, every like Central C, like it's like so funny. Fake Mink, it's like hilarious. I'm gonna have a ball.
Growing up on the East Coast, what was your perception of Coachella?
I never paid attention to it. People would go, but I couldn't afford to go. It's like, I'm not going all the way to California for a festival. I mean, I never liked festivals. That's just me. Like, I didn't like going to concerts very much either.
Really?
What am I gonna do standing around, you know?
But you're appreciating the music as it's performed live.
I liked it, and the idea is just like, my first concert was like Jay-Z and Drake, in like stadiums, and I think.
Okay, I could see how that could be a little bit of a.
It's like jarring in a way, and
there's no connection.
Yeah, no connection, exactly. And I think my parents love going to concerts. They love going to shows, like club shows all the time. But for me, I think it was jealousy, in all seriousness. I would go to shows and I'd be pissed off because I'm not doing it. And this is before I'd ever written a song, before I produced anything. I'd just be like, why aren't I?
That should be me up there.
Or I'd see some people and I'd just be like, I want to do this. Like, you know.
You'd be critiquing them and picking apart mistakes or where things could be better.
Exactly, which is snobby, but I was 18, you know, so. But I mean, obviously I accustomed to it. I like going to concerts now, of course. But it was like, when I was 20, 19, it was like, I would just be really sad, honestly. I'd go to shows and I'd get really sad. Because I'm like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And not even in like a self-indulgent way, it's just like I want to perform. Like, I want to be a part of something.
Right.
I want to control this. I want to feel all this love that everybody's feeling. And I want to be in this room.
You're going to be blown away at Coachella then.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, that's a testament to the work that you put in, the care that you put in.
Thank you.
It really says a lot. So
I think so. You know, I'm trying my best. Every day I wake up trying to figure out like what I could do better, or how to be a better person or a smarter person to try to make sure that I stick around as long as possible. I was a receptionist last year. You know, I was answering the phones at a car dealership on it. You know, for 40 hours a week.
Really?
Yeah. And they let me go in like June. So before that, you know. And before that, I was working at a gas station for 7 years, pumping gas. In New Jersey, you know, we pump gas.
Yeah.
So.
That's right. You can't pump your own gas in New Jersey.
I got to do it.
That's like one of the only states.
That's me.
Oh, rebel.
Yeah. But I'm saying I'm the one doing it.
You're the one doing it.
I'm the one outside pumping people's gas.
Yeah.
So I was doing that, you know, and it's like, I know what it's like to work hard. So I'm taking that same application, just putting it to the music industry, I guess. And the songwriting, you know, taking the time to be diligent and learn instruments and learn songs to be able to write better songs, you know.
You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Really appreciate the time. Great to meet you.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Best of luck with everything. We'll see you at the show tonight.
Absolutely. Let me know how it ends up. Please.
Indeed. 54 Ultra, right here on B-Sides.